welcome to the Story Lab. My name is Otito. I am the founder here at the Story Lab, where I interview founders, scientists, engineers, business practitioners, and I try to understand the thinking patterns which they use to navigate complex career decisions. Today I'm sitting down with Vladimir Baranov, who is a three times tech founder in the industries of fintech and aerospace. He's also a startup coach at his practice, Human Interfaces. And together we break down the topic, what does it mean to get unstuck? We will use startups as a case study, but we hope the insights from this can be applied to other aspects of career related decisions as well. Due to technical difficulties, I will not be um, captured in the video of this podcast, although my voice will be heard all through asking the questions. This has been one of the most insightful podcast episodes I have held, and I hope you all enjoy it just as much as I did. Thank you so much, Vladimir, for agreeing to be here with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay, great. So let's jump right into it. I was going through your website, Human Interfaces, and I saw your category called My Story, and you kind of explained that when you moved to America as an immigrant, you started building things as an engineer, but you had this lapse with between like the work you're doing and feeling a little bit fulfilled. You were seeking this human connection. I kind of refer to this as some form of stuckness where you get reward, maybe financial reward from what you're doing, but you don't feel very much fulfilled because certain elements are missing. But I'm curious how you identified what exactly was missing and how you knew when it was time to actually go and create this environment that will bring out the best in you. How did you identify, okay, this is actually stuckness and this is what's missing and this is what I have to go and find?
Got it. That's a good question. I say that future is unknown to most people. So I would say that I've not at any point said like, oh, this is exactly what I was need to do, and this is what's missing in the world. I think all of these conclusions are in always in retrospective. So in
Yeah.
sense, when you do something, you like it, and then you realize, okay, I think I would like to do more of that. However, before experiencing it, it's very difficult, I feel like, to say that, hey, I know what's broken, I need to know what's fixed. Um, with that, and maybe this is I'm speaking a little bit more generally, I have experienced being a coach as part of my executive responsibilities at my previous companies. And I noticed when I was doing that coaching is that I was actually helping a lot of individuals in my companies and other companies to become better individuals themselves. And what I decided to do is actually take that capability from the executive company that I was at and to start independent practice. So I did not go ahead and start a practice, say, hey, I'm going to find some problem, I'm going to do this, this is missing. I already saw it by doing it.
Okay.
And then I decided to do more of it. Now, did I know before when I started coaching as an executive within my company that I'm going to find these gaps? Absolutely not. So to say that I saw the future and I moved towards it would be probably an incorrect statement from me. It's more I've experienced something and I saw it was problematic and I moved forward to try fixing it in a few other places in the world.
Okay, I love that. So basically, what you're saying is you kind of learn and find these gaps by doing. And when you go into these fields, then you see, okay, this is maybe what I enjoy more. This is where I find my
Yes.
purpose. Okay, really good. I love that insight. I want us to zero into more of your specialty, which is with startups. And I want you to paint a scenario. What is the most common way you see founders getting stuck, and what does that look like?
Mm, mm. Well, I work with specific types of founders. So I work with a lot of engineers and scientists. And one of the main issues that prevents them from moving forward is actually its own intelligence. As they were trained in the world of academia and becoming better engineers and scientists, there's this enormous pressure that is put on each individual to solve their own problems. So, because it's tied to their ego, it's tied to their brand, it's tied to their maybe intellectual own curiosity, that if you're facing a difficult problem, unless you solve it yourself, you're basically canceling your identity. And in the world of starting the companies or founding the companies, you will always face problems that you have not solved before. As an engineer or a scientist, no matter how smart you are, if you don't have the context, but you just have the algorithms, there's just not enough cognitive space, cognitive processing that you can apply in that vacuum to actually address that problem. And the simpler solution is that step away from solving the problem yourself. I mean, a lot of engineer scientists say, "Oh my God, no, I'm the best to solve this problem." But why would you solve a problem that somebody else already solved and all you have to do is just ask? And to answer your question, like where do people get stuck, especially engineers and scientists, is at that point, at that critical point where they start solving every problem that their startup experiences. Now, are they smart enough to eventually figure out the problem? Absolutely. But it's incredibly difficult to climb 1,000 learning curves at the same time. You can climb one, two, maybe 10 if you're really good, but
Yeah.
climbing 1,000, that's maybe AI can do that, but not humans.
Wow. I see. I love the word you use, owning intelligence. And I think it just reminds me of growing up, especially so I grew up in Nigeria and in Nigeria when we do high school, we have like secondary school. So it's not really high school, secondary school. So from seventh grade all to 12th grade, it's one school. And when you get to 10th grade, you have to choose if you want to be in the STEM area or commercial, the arts. And I was in the STEM area. And I don't remember doing any group works, any group team projects in the STEM area. And it was a very competitive experience where you have to really prove how smart you are in every course, chemistry, physics. And I think in that point, I start developing this. Maybe the word you use, ego, intellectual ego, where you have to show that you're the best at everything to attempt a problem. And maybe a lot of engineers have or founders have this deep rooted in them right from the school system. Maybe do you think there's anything schools can do better in helping people know that you don't need to be the smartest in every room to contribute, and and you can also contribute through asking or learning questions?
Yeah. Well, it kind of maybe goes to the root of what the schools are for. And a lot of schooling that we do across the world, and I'm not an expert on education, but I feel like we are doing a lot more skills-based, technical skills built learning, like mathematics or engineering, calculus or physics. And if you want to succeed, you got to get a good grade. Um, but if we introduce soft skills and collaboration skills and delegation skills, it would be really hard to measure where you yourself have that capability, or did you just ask somebody for the right answer or right approach, and that's how you approach this problem. I think introduction of separate classes, which measure specifically on leadership skills or collaboration skills or communication skills, are very useful. But right now, I don't think they're being perceived by the people who go to school are important. But those people who know they're important, they take kids or take students outside of it and teach them. You can probably observe that in trade schools versus, let's say, families which have a lot of money. They send the kids over for additional classes on
Yeah.
communication, soft skills. But those with more hard skills, like the technical skills, they don't always perceive those skills are necessary because that's not has been their career track before that.
Makes sense. Sounds good. Definitely that other maybe extra exposure to other skill sets that would be necessary to function not just as a self-sufficient person, because you can't solve all the problems by yourself. So communication skills, teamwork skills are very necessary. But in this area of which we're discussing on, maybe like you're interested in something, you're not a specialist, getting help. I think a lot of people struggle with imposter syndrome and like you don't want to look stupid. You want to prove a point. How do you manage that? Because I know you built companies in fintech and aerospace, which are two different areas. And so like I also want to go back to my college experience. So I studied polymer engineering, materials
Mhm,
engineering.
mhm,
I worked on bioelectronics and implantable devices. And but throughout my college day, I kind of when I think of what I want to do in the future, I find out I'm interested in a lot of things, but I feel I'm tied to only what I studied because
mhm.
of this is my expertise. And maybe I might look funny going into a different area. So
Yeah,
how do you overcome this imposter syndrome or this idea of you're not intellectually adequate to go into a different field?
yeah. One is I think we need to analyze our sense of identity and whether that identity was built up for us and said, because you read only this books, you can only talk about this. And because you were given this certification, this paper that you read this books, you're only allowed to talk about this. And if your identity is based on that, then it's really difficult to be somewhere else because somebody else told you you're only a valid human being if you get the certificate.
Very true.
Now, if you have practiced something and you're really good at it and you have results to show for it, is it more important than the certificate?
Of
Is
course.
the learned experience and the results better than going to school? I'm not discrediting school. I think school is
Yeah,
important.
for sure.
But in the end, if you want to put somebody to use in your company, how you're hiring them, do you want to take somebody who has pure academic knowledge and good grades, or somebody who has actually worked in the field for, let's say, 10, 15 years and knows actually in how the industry actually works,
Worked in the
right?
field.
Experience is always beats that. Um, so you kind of have to make a decision. Do you keep your identity or you choose which new identity you want to have, right? And it is your choice. Like if you're a material scientist, do you want to become an electrical engineer or do you want to become an executive? You got to choose. You have to decide, yes, I'm that. But also you need to understand that your new identity is probably going to be very shallow because you have not started building it.
That is very true.
But then you start thinking, what are the parts of the new identity that you need to introduce in order to start growing in it? Let's say you want to grow as an executive, right?
Yeah,
Just opening up your own business with your state commission and giving an LLC, that's already puts you like 0.005% up in that category, right? With other activities, because in the end, it's almost like a video game. Like you got to do enough activities to earn certain bonus points to accumulate that. It doesn't mean going to school. That's
mm,
people are very concerned about reputation as they're when they're switching identity. I'm going to counter that and say that you probably have no reputation. And I'm gonna say, like, as myself, even though I'm running a business, I have 1,000 clients, compared to what reputation is in the world globally, it's nothing. Like maybe 1,000 people know me, maybe even a little bit more. If you're coming out right out of school, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 100 people know you. Let's bump it up, 500 people know you.
yeah.
But compared to number of people in the world, that's negligible. You can build up reputation with the rest of the world as somebody else. Or you can pick a segment. Like I can tell you, some people know me in fintech for one thing, but the people in the aerospace do not know me for that thing at all.
Mm,
So in a sense, you start thinking about your identity as multilateral identity, which is different for every industry that you work in. And if you want to choose, again, who you want to be is where it starts. Because then you can break down that identity into components and see which ones you want to work on, which ones you already have. Because let's say if you're a material scientist, you don't have to do any sort of like computational work. If you're, let's say, transitioning into, and again, executive, like their
yeah,
computational work may be maximum using of Excel, you're already 10 out of 10 there.
yeah.
Maybe you can transfer skills like organization, maybe project management. You're probably going to be terrible, and I don't know you personally, but I'm just at leadership,
Yeah,
maybe like giving presentations to thousands of people, and that's something that you just got to work on. But the
that's true.
first step, and I want to say to fight it, but to like you need to decide who do you want to be, and it's okay also if you decide now to be one person, and let's say 5 years from now we've been practicing and saying, yeah, this is not really me, to start something else, because that period of time gives you opportunity to collect information, collect data with your body, with your observation, to see whether or not you can become interested or be better at that thing. And it's okay to say like, that doesn't seem like a thing that I like, but as I was doing it, I found this other thing to which I want to pivot. It's an endless pivot for me too. Like I'm in middle, maybe end of my career. I don't know where I'm at, but like it's a forever pivot towards optimization of a better thing which fits your identity.
Well, that's beautiful. I love the way you put it as well, the analogy you gave with the people, how many people in the world know you right now, and how you can have a multilateral identity. I love the fact that you really embrace reinvention and being bold to do it. Now, some people might question and counter and by saying that, okay, I want to switch, but then again, I need to feed. Is it possible to get paid while learning?
I think it's always possible to get paid while learning. And I think let's say it's not just being fed, let's say an expense, right? You have some sort of life expense. And we have a lot of regions in the world where you can live and learn remotely, right?
Mm,
Let's say you can have a job in the US and live in Thailand or Nigeria, and your day-to-day expenditures are going to be very low. Now,
that's true.
is your goal to prioritize your current, I don't want to say well-being, but like your life balance, where you have really nice room, you have nice to all the amenities, um, and your expenses are high, so your resources for learning something extra are going to be very low. Or if your priority is actually to become that new identity, then you maybe sacrifice in some of your amenities, but you expend your budget on learning and you go through, right? If you have nothing, zero, it's very difficult, but it's also not impossible, right?
Okay,
If you have not, one second. But
bless you.
all right. If you have nothing, you gotta start somewhere, right? So you
Yeah.
either need to find a job to accumulate that capital, or
Okay.
you borrow to create a loan, which are a little bit more riskier. And again, you're trying to do something to accumulate the capital. It takes some risk. Um, if you're in huge debt, that place I don't know how to get out of easily. But I'd say to answer your question, can you be doing the thing which you want and still be sort of like surviving? Absolutely.
Yeah. Great. I love the insights and the examples you provide. I mean, I just asked that question to just in case people like were thinking of finances as well, just to give them some context. And I love the fact that you give some ideas I probably didn't even think of about like maybe moving to a different country, lowering your costs so as to be able to optimize for learning. Because like you said, a lot of people optimize for reputation instead of learning. That's why they get st very much stuck. I want to switch the conversation.
And so actually, I would want to introduce another instrument as like
Okay.
everybody needs to define what the reputation means for them
Mm,
because you believe you have a reputation, but what does that mean?
that's a good
Like, what does
question.
that mean? Does it mean that the person who you think thinks you're great can refer you to somebody, maybe give you some money? Like, what does that reputation mean for you? Is it the thought that people have in other people's head? Because if you think it's more about a referral network of people who will vouch for you, test it.
Mm, test it. That's really good.
Let's say, I don't know, you're doing a material science
But just yeah,
presentation and you're looking for testimonials.
yeah,
Can you get 20 testimonials from the people who you think are strong bonds in your network? And if they're not responding, and which is okay, like I think a lot of people would find out if they're testing their reputation, and let's say of 100 people, that they actually don't have 100 people reputation. They have maybe like 10, 15 people.
yeah.
Because the network is only worth it for what you can use it for. So if you think you have a reputation, how
Okay.
can you test it? How can you validate it that you actually have that asset? Can you
That's
ask somebody for a favor? Can you ask somebody for an introduction? Can you ask somebody for a job? And if it comes through, congratulations, your network is phenomenal. But for most of the people, it's a perceived reputation that we're worried about. Like if you have a reputation like and millions of people worship you, sure, that's different. And there are PR agencies and branding consultants we can work with. For most of the mortals, you probably don't have a very well functioning network.
very true.
And so when you create a new one, a new identity, you actually start building it up together more uh, consciously as you put it together.
Exactly. I love that. I love that. I'm in the process of trying to reinvent myself. I'm coming from my engineering background, and so I really love the encouragement as well. I want to spin the conversation a little bit another way, as I know time is also on not on our side. I want to spin the conversation. So you built in fintech, aerospace. Now you're coaching, and everybody's talking about AI and building business in AI. people that know you might think you'd rush to do a business in AI. How do you know when to sit a certain technology out, or maybe you wait or choose what is more in line with the kind of contribution you want to make in time rather than following the crowd? How do you know when to say, okay, this is what is more important to me and not and avoid this feeling of FOMO or fear of missing out?
Yeah. Well, I think it's what your outcomes are. If your outcomes are to make a ton of money, perhaps jumping into AI is actually very timely. Just pick whatever is the most important, follow the money, and give people value there and figure it out. My perspective on AI, well, I respect money, and if somebody gives me $10 million, of course, I will accept it. I realize that when you spend time on something, you also are in that environment of something. And if your that environment is not conducive to what you believe world should be or things that you don't enjoy, you're actually giving yourself a bit of a pain over the period of time while you're building, and you're not really living during that moment. Yes, you're building and you're accomplishing things. And so the things that I'm doing right now is I'm trying to optimize not just for that financial outcome, but also for emotional outcome and life outcome, and also impact and purpose outcome, right? Because with all respect to crypto bros, like if let's say if I build an e-commerce site that works on crypto that I coined on my own somewhere in a basement, I will not feel as satisfied, as fulfilled on this planet of what I'm contributing to others. So to answer questions like whether I am or not jumping on, whether you should or should not be jumping on the AI trend, it also depends on your priority over your own values, right? Will I agree that this is a great opportunity to make a lot of money? Absolutely. So you should be looking at all the possible things.
Yeah.
Now, however, if it conflicts with some of your ethics or conflicts with the way of you making impact or looking for purpose, perhaps other ways are there. Now, am I a user of a lot of AI use the tools? Absolutely. But again, to answer your questions, I don't think there is a right moment unless you analyze what is more important for you.
Well, I love that. Optimizing for what is more important for you is definitely very important. I guess a lot of people would struggle in defining, like, I feel like a lot of times because of social media and how fast-paced the world is, a lot of times we might not really itemize what is really important to our core. And so
Yeah,
making that decision becomes a lot harder.
for sure. Yeah, and it's important again to make a decision saying that I would like to learn what are my priorities are. I would like to make a choice of what my priorities are. And if you're spending your day mostly in consumption mode, reading social media, reading news, reading books, which is again important things to do, you miss the time that you allocate to yourself, asking yourself a question, what have I been put on this planet for?
That is very
What
true.
are my priorities? Like, what do I like doing day to day? And when I've done something great, what is that I will be feeling about it? And should I be moving in that direction? But those are scary questions, and they're hard to answer right away. And I do have a lot of frameworks to help people go through those. But those are important questions, and sometimes we don't actually have the tools to answer those. And that's why one of the reasons why I moved into coaching.
I love that. I love that. Definitely it's taking time out. What I see in a lot of the points you're making is being, even if you don't have the answers, being taking a conscious decision to try and find them and know yourself better, know what you want. I really love that direction. Because we're running out of time, I'll have one final question for most of my audience. They're young people starting out in their careers, and I know you coach people starting their startups, and there's a lot of young people starting startups, but not just startups, but trying to build careers in whatever directions they deem fit. Is there any advice, anything you could give to someone trying to figure out their lens on how they see the world as an early professional and trying to find some form of stability of thought in how they approach these career questions? What would you say?
Yeah. Um, I would say discovery first, decision later.
Discovery.
There's a lot of pressure put on anybody who is unexperienced to make a decision that will last you 30, 40, 50 years, find a good career. What I'm going to tell you is that most likely you don't know what is a good career for you.
That's
And what
true.
it makes sense to actually maybe do it to sort of experiment during the first 5, 10 years of your career to try out different roles, different industries, and so on, in order to discover what is the right thing for you and spend your 30s doing a really deep dive on that um, choice. So this way, not only you're choosing for the thing that you have optimized for, but also you're progressing in that career. Alternatively, if you choose just one career and stick with it for 30 years, it does work for some people, but I'm guaranteeing for most people it's not going to work because the likelihood of you choosing without enough context wrong is going to be it's very high.
I love that. I love that advice, and I hope each one of you listening would take elements, big elements of that. And I think it is something that we should all not feel pressure to really make a decision right now, but like discovery, like you said, discovery and learn, because we're all young, even some of us, the human brain is not even fully matured. So absorbing and knowing and doing the deep dive, I really love that advice. Well, thank you so much, Vladimir, for taking our time to share wisdom, wealth of knowledge with us. And I appreciate you and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Of course, that's it. You too.
You too. Bye.